Hi guys, Aaron here, and welcome back to another Armchair Pundit show. So, the first test between your Lions and your All Blacks has just finished. It didn't go the way that I was hoping, or maybe necessarily thought. We're going to go through some of the talking points of the game. We're not going to go through the details. We literally just watched it. We're then going to go through about how the players individually did, and maybe some of the changes that the Lions might look to make in for the second test. Okay, let's get straight into it. So, talking about the Lions, mainly, really, they were good in the first 10, and they had periods in the game where they shone. But I think as the game wore on, the All Blacks just took more and more control of it. They upped tempo the game when they wanted to. They controlled where the game was played on the field. They controlled possession of the ball, particularly in that second half. They were just very, very, very good. What the All Blacks did really well to change their point of attack through offloads. They offload extremely well, and they don't really throw 50-50 balls. You compare that to some of the Lions' attempts at offloads. One comes to mind, Anthony Watson. He made a bit of a break from a Williams pass on the counter attack. He tried to offload it, and it just went forwards. The All Blacks probably wouldn't have passed that. It's those sort of 50-50 passes that the Lions chuck and the All Blacks don't, which separates those two teams, which separates good teams from great teams. So I think that's something which they'll probably look at over the week and just trying not to play too much like the All Blacks and play more like themselves. Leads me on to my next point, is that during half time, and I was listening to the commentary and just trying to figure out what was going on, and the commentators kept saying that what they need, how are they going to out Kiwi the Kiwis? And that kind of gets me a little bit. I mean, the Lions are their own entity. You know, they aren't the All Blacks. So there's certain aspects from, say, the All Blacks team which every other team in the world tries to take on board and replicate. I don't think that you need to necessarily take the All Blacks game plan and try and replicate the whole thing to beat them. I think there are certain ways which you can play to maybe beat the All Blacks, which you don't need to go all out and copy them. The All Blacks do the basics so well. It's not all about the offloads, and it's not all about the steps, and it's not all about the flick pass, that kind of stuff. They do the basics extremely well, and they support run very, very well. That is the fundamental basis to their game, and everything else is just bolted on, and they play freely. And for the Lions to compete, they need to not play like the Kiwis are playing. They need to play their own game, defend how they've been defending in those lead-up games, and not try and pass 50-50 balls. But look, saying that, the Lions were very good in parts, and they made breaks, and they took a few opportunities and missed a few opportunities, and maybe a 15-point scoreline really doesn't reflect the game. I think the All Blacks probably deserve to win, but maybe not by 15 points. And I think that the periods in the game where the Lions scored tries and created chances shows that they can compete. And I'm really positive going into that second test. I'm really positive, and and they played extremely well in parts. They played extremely well. Sean O'Brien's try was a very, very, very good try, and Reece Webb at the end, coming on, fresh legs, quick guy at the end. I know it's a consolation try, but it was very, very good. Concentrating on the Lions kind of side of it, a few points that really, for me, kind of stood out was Aaron Bentillo came off for Johnny Sexton. Now that was a planned substitution, I think, that they were going to make, and for me, Bentillo is probably defensively the best back that the Lions had. He was smashing people left, right, and centre. They brought him off to create more width by putting Farrell in at 12, Sexton at 10, just to push a bit wider. I get it and I understand it, but then I think you're going wide for the sake of going wide, which doesn't really work necessarily. You have to earn the right to go wide. You can't just chuck it. You have to earn it. Defensively, then they're a little bit more on edge because they've obviously lost a bit of bulk with Farrell in at 12 instead of Teo. I would have personally brought Farrell off. For me, he was rusty, and I said that in my last video. I don't think he was really up with the pace of the game. He was rusty. I would have brought Sexton on for Farrell. I would have kept Teo and Davies in the centres. They were doing very well. And if you want that second receiver to shit the ball wide, I'll use Elliot Daly off that wing. Bring him off that left wing and use him as that sort of second receiver to bring to Anthony Watson into the game, Liam Williams into the game, maybe inside ball back into tier, whatever you want. I think there are other ways they can go about that rather than that set structure, which the All Blacks knew was coming. The All Blacks knew they were going to make that change. It's just a matter of when. For me, also, I think the wingers needed to do more. They kept their width, which is good, but they need to get involved more. You see Jack Nile against the Chiefs during the week, and he got involved in a lot of things. And Anthony Watson saw the ball a handful of times. You can't just hold your wingers back for the chance of a counter attack because that's just pointless. You've got two extra guys. You're not really doing a lot. Elliot Daly did okay in attack, did okay in defence, but didn't really see much of the ball. The wingers need to be working harder. They need to be looking for the ball up the middle. Changes that I would think need to be made for that second test if they are going to compete. Obviously, now they have to win the second game. I think they need to be a bit more dynamic up front. They didn't really offer a lot for me. Vunipola was disappointing in the loose. He didn't really get going. And Jamie George was good. Solid line out, solid scrum. Was good around the park. Up front, I'd maybe look to start with McGrath and maybe Carl Sinclair. When he came on, he made the impact in the loose. He's that wide channel runner. He did extremely well. You might even look at maybe bringing Dan Cole in instead. For me, Furlong didn't have a great game. Vunipola was pretty disappointing. They did okay in those warm-up games, but this is a real deal now. And I think you've got to choose the guys who are going to make the impact, not necessarily just from the bench, but give these guys sort of 50, 60 minutes in the start to make the impact from the beginning. I think that's what's needed. I think it showed that Itoje needs to start. He definitely needs to be on the pitch from the 1st to the 80th minute because there's no point in having to play like that on the bench. Alun Wyn Jones, I don't know, for me, he looked gassed. He looked gassed in the first 10, 15 minutes. He looked gone. And I was getting WhatsApp messages saying he needs a doctor, which is fair enough. Cruz didn't set the world light. He was disappointing. He had a few knock-ons. They need Courtney Lawes in that squad. They need something else in that second row. Ian Henderson doesn't give it for me. I don't believe Ian Henderson should be there. So I think the 3 second rows next week should be Itoje, Cruz and Lawes. Whether they choose Itoje and Lawes in there to just smash them up for the first 60 minutes and bring Cruz on, I don't know. But I think Alun Wyn Jones' days are done for me. I'm not sure if he's got it. And Ian Henderson, just for me, doesn't have the all-round skill set. Moving on to the back row now. O'Brien, industrious, does what he does. Scored that try, good support running. He did okay. He couldn't really compete at the breakdown. He found it difficult to get over the gain line. Same goes with Omani. Omani in the line out was solid. He did his work, and that's all he did. He did his work. He didn't do anything outstanding. Faletau was Faletau again, industrious, and did what he could. He was sort of nullified by Kieran Reid, and it says it all. And Kieran Reid's been out for 6 weeks, plays his first game, and is up there. I think he had 18 carries, and I think the back row needs some more go forwards. And I don't want James Haskell in that team. I don't think he'd suit that team. He's too much of a loose cannon. I want to see CJ Stander. I think CJ Stander, O'Brien, give O'Brien another crack. If not, Tipuric and Faletau. I think CJ Bryan's going to be that guy in that back row to really punch it forward. Murray, I'd keep him at 9. I think that worked really, really well. He didn't have the best game, the most flashy game, but his box kicks are a really good way for his Lions team to get out of trouble, and they worked really, really well today. I'd start Sexton at 10. I really would. Get those ball runners. Get Tio, who played pretty well, and Davies, whose lines were excellent. I'd have Sexton at 10 to unleash those guys. I really would. I would move Liam Williams from fullback onto the wing. I think that'd be a good move, and I don't believe I'm saying this. I'd actually have Jack Nowell playing. He's not the quickest winger, but you've got Liam Williams in that team for pace. I'd have Jack Nowell. He does his hard yards. He does the hard work off the wing, which I think the Lions need. I think they need more industry out wide, and he's going to bring that. Halfpenny, I'd bring him in at 15. I think Halfpenny is just a bit more comfortable in that all-rounded 15 role than Williams is. Liam Williams is there as a counter-attacking runner, which he's probably better than Halfpenny at. Halfpenny is just a more rounded fullback, I think. So yeah, Williams still in the game, in the team. I know he made that mistake for Ioni's second try, But you know what? He actually had a pretty decent game. But I think Halfpenny in that, just for that stability in that back three, I think that's the way to go. Can the Lions win the second test? Yes, I think they can. I think they've shown enough in that first test that they can compete in the second. I think they've got to start with a bang. They've got to score early points, and they've got to. It was said during the week from the Lions team that they have to be switched on for 80 minutes, and they were switched on for about 78 minutes. And the 2 minutes they weren't switched on, they conceded 2 tries. One quick, that tap penalty went wide to the hooker who scored in the corner, and he only his, I think, second try. 2 times they were switched off. It's 2 times they got caught napping. Anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on the game? Do you think the Lions deserve to lose by 15 or possibly even more? What do you think? What do you think of the team that played? Any changes that you believe should be made to the squad? Do you think they should go out there with the same team second time round? Give a like if you like the video, subscribe for more, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.